Johnny here. This is Tuesday morning here in Sydney, Australia. It's 6:30 a.m. Wherever you are in the world, I say welcome. If you're catching this live, let's do our check-ins real quick. Wherever you're coming from, let me know where you're streaming from. And like this video. If you're new to the channel, guys, I live stream every single day going over our weekly boxing events. If you like the live streams, like this video. Also, if you want to see my edited and produced breakdown, analysis, and prediction videos, those are on the channel as well. They're about 10 minutes. Find the playlist that says Fight Predictions. Last night, I just uploaded Brian Norman Jr. versus Jin Sasaki. Gave you my prediction. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. And also, in my opinion, I was sending messages all around my little network about this card in Tokyo. And I think there's an upset on this card. I've been looking at the resumes of both guys. It's the co-main on this fight card. And if you're in Australia, you could check your betting apps. The guy who's a 2-to-1 dog, I think Vegas has it wrong. So we'll go over that as well. And so, guys, if you are streaming, if you are live with me, go to your betting app and let me know what the odds you're getting on the Christian Aronetta fight. And then whatever you see those odds, I want to start there. Christian Aronetta, yeah, he's fighting Simsree. So you have a Filipino fighter in Christian Aronetta versus Simsree, a Thai fighter. And right now, Aronetta is the underdog. But all I want you guys to do before I give you my reasons, go to their box rec. Check out Aronetta's resume and check out Simsree's resume. And let me know what you think. The Thai fighter is 38-1. He's the favorite. Aronetta is 25-2. He's the underdog. I think those odds are going to shift more in Aronetta's favor the closer we get to Thursday night based off of the boxing insiders. Because I was sending messages out to my buddies who bet, and I was getting message about Christian Aronetta. You look at their resumes, it's insane. So I think this is one of those fights where, and we know this, guys, as bettors too, is sometimes the odds, they go off of the BoxRec algorithm. And before I continue, I want to say I've been getting a lot of emails in my email account. Keep sending me emails. I just want to let you know I will address them today. I've been getting a lot lately. So off the top of my head, I know Jason, I have to email Jason, PJ. There's some other ones. I think I have about 10. So just be patient with me getting back to your emails. And then from there, let's have fun with this. Aronetta is 2-to-1. Yeah. So I like Aronetta. And then the way I'm breaking that down, I'm going to break down my analysis and prediction today. You'll see that in the produced, edited analysis video. Now, like I said, in the algorithm, you have the Thai fighter Simsree above Aronetta. When you look at Simsree's resume, though, it's insane. Now, the argument would be each time either Simsree or Aronetta has fought out of their native land. So Aronetta left Philippines, he went to Mexico, he lost. Simsree left Thailand, he went to Japan, he lost. I want to know if you guys have watched the Brian Norman Jr. Breakdown as well. Let me know if you see something that I don't see in Sasaki. I think Jin Sasaki is a valiant opponent, but at 23, I think Sasaki, when you look at finished products, is way less of a finished product than Brian Norman Jr. Obviously, we know Norman Jr. is a world champion. Now, I've yet to see people give me reasons on why Sasaki wins. When you look at his highlight tape, you look how he fights. He's a flat-footed, in-the-pocket fighter who throws bombs. Doesn't move his head. In my breakdown, I said I think his style, and it is, tailor-made for Brian Norman Jr. Fast Cars in the house, Goats in the house, PJ's in the house, Ryan, Mac. So appreciate everybody tapping in. I want to hear your opinions. If you guys aren't getting the Aronetta fight, it's the co-main on the Tokyo card, Brian Norman Jr., just be patient because they're marketing that fight on Top Rank. And generally, when you see the promotions come out and the analysis, you'll get to bet on those cards. My problem right now, and I said this in my breakdown video, and I'm kind of biting the bullet on this one, I knew that those odds would shift on Brian Norman Jr. Last night when I uploaded my breakdown, Brian Norman Jr. to stop Sasaki was $2.30. So $100 gets you your money back plus 130. Those odds have dropped just for Norman to stop Sasaki from 231 to 189 now on my book. So I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I'm obviously taking Norman Jr. to win. I'm either going to go super heavy on just him to stop Sasaki and just sit there and watch that one fight, and then with that victory, carry that over into the weekend. If I don't go that route, I then might do a knockdown prop bet over one and parlay that with something. I'll let you guys know my specifics. But yeah, the odds are definitely shifting. So if you love Brian Norman Jr. to stop him, guys, and you could bet on that, I would get on it right now. Because in my video, I told you guys, the closer we get to fight night, those odds were going to go down. And that's what's happening. The bettors, a lot of you bet, a lot of the money is Vegas, Americans. It's Monday now. You guys had your weekend. And yesterday was my Monday, your Sunday. And I said, once Monday comes around for America and the bettors see those odds, there's going to be a lot of money coming in on Norman. And that's exactly what happened. So right now, even the money line changed. Last night on the money line, Norman Jr. was $1.24. He's $1.19 now. Jin Sasaki was a 3-1 underdog yesterday. He's a 4-1 dog now. Sasaki is too fast, too strong for Norman. Can handle Santana, was beating him until that knockdown. So if you think Jin Sasaki is too fast and too strong for Brian Norman Jr., you have to watch more Jin Sasaki. Jin Sasaki will not have the speed advantage against Brian Norman Jr. Brian Norman Jr. is handily the faster fighter. He has the better feet. He uses the whole ring. He has more power. The issue and the problem, Anonymous, is going to be the narrative in this fight, right off jump, is going to be about game planning. We already know what Jin Sasaki is going to do coming into this fight. We know what he wants to do. He wants to fight you in the pocket. My issue with that style for him, couple things. He doesn't set his combos up with his jab. He'll come in a bit naked, kind of like we talked about with George Kambosos Jr., and look what Hitchens' jab did to him. He also loves to work the body, and Sasaki's best punches to me are his body punches. The problem with a body puncher who doesn't set that up, doesn't go up top first, he leaves his head susceptible to getting countered in the pocket. He not only does that in his tape, he doesn't move the head at all. He doesn't level change either. A lot of guys, high level at the world class, you'll throw and duck, throw, slip, that sort of thing. Sasaki's here the whole time. So for you to say that Sasaki's going to have the speed advantage and power, I disagree. I think the one advantage that Sasaki has over Brian Norman Jr., and this isn't supposed to sound like a conspiracy theorist, is fighting in his home country. Because the later this fight goes, if it does start going to the 10th, 11th, 12th rounds, I think that Norman Jr. would have to worry about if it goes to a decision. Just based off, you got the champion traveling from America 7,000 miles, and you got the hometown kid fighting in Japan, in Tokyo. I think that is a major issue Norman will have to, deal with if it does go to the cards. But I don't see anything Sasaki does. Even when his knockouts, when you watch his highlight reel, he's fighting guys, domestic level Japanese fighters, who are standing and just kind of waiting there for him to get hit. If you watch the Andy Cruz versus Mishiro tape, Cruz fought another Japanese guy. Mishiro didn't punch with Cruz. He just stood there. And that kind of shows you somebody's class level. You always want to punch with a puncher, maybe not hook with a hooker, but you don't want to just stand there in the pocket. Exit. Fight him at a different range. Don't just come into his wheelhouse and not punch with him. That's what Mishiro was doing, and obviously we know how that ended. Now, Sasaki will punch, but Brian Norman will punch with him. So it's that speed, and I think Brian Norman Jr., he's going to be the one who has to decide where he wants this fight to take place. That's where the narrative is going to be, to finish my long-winded thought, is that Norman Jr. will have a decision to make really early if he wants to play that game with Sasaki right off jump, because Norman Jr. has the footwork to make Sasaki try to catch him and box him. Will we see that from him? I don't think so. I think Norman Jr. is one of, if you're a fan of him, the most exciting fighters in that division, because he fights on his front foot. Sasaki fights on his front foot. I think you have to give the resumes to obviously Brian Norman Jr. He's also the world champion. The power. I like the mindset that Norman Jr. fights with. There's a lot of variables that I'm high on Brian Norman Jr. And then his detractors. Oh, he got wobbled, or we saw his legs get wobbled once or twice. Cuevas caught him at the end of round 2. If that is your narrative and if that's your reasoning to bet against him, then you better be saying Sasaki got knocked out against a 140-pounder, because you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you're going to sit here and debate me on the fact that you think Norman Jr. is chinny, even though he's never been knocked out and he's undefeated and a world champion, because you saw him in a fight get wobbled, then you better also come back with me and tell me, yeah, Andy Hiroka starched Jin Sasaki. That's all I'm saying. CG Boxing Bets, great show as always, Johnny Supporter. CG Boxing Bets, I can't thank you enough for supporting my channel, leaving the bookie a tip. Thank you from the UK. I always talk about it, the UK, the Brits, everything that happens across the pond, some of my favorite fights. I tune into UK fight cards, even if they were behind a pub. So I appreciate the support, guys. Now, just because I'm coming with a strong narrative, Norman versus Sasaki, I don't want to paint the picture and detract anybody from debating me, because if you feel that Sasaki could beat him, I want to know that. Bill Haney. So yesterday we had Showbiz the Adult in our chat. Now we have Bill Haney in the chat. Somebody's doing bots. But Bill, if that's you, appreciate you. Even if it's not you, welcome to the chat. We do this every day. Guys, wherever you're watching this video, like this video. We're going to be here for a while. This is my first live of the day. I do 2 every day. This one's usually the longer one. If you haven't caught my breakdown of BNJ versus Sasaki, it's on the channel. And then also stay tuned, because I'm uploading that Christian Aronetta fight. SM, I put 30 on a Norman knockout. I like it, SM. Let's get that money. Appreciate the tip. Salute to you boys too. Bill Haney in the house. PJ in the house. Guys, anybody looking at the Yafai fight versus Rodriguez in the UK? Mark, we did miss the UFC parlay. You know, and this is what I get. I'm an old head. For me, betting against the old head, it came back to burn me. But that was on the spot, Mark. You put me on the spot, and I gave you that 6-legger just basically off, you know, not even doing proper film study. Yeah, I'm mad at Buckley too. The thing about Buckley is we got to see his potential. We got to see the dog in him. And we knew going into it, I told you guys on my live stream that Buckley learned how to do martial arts by watching Shane Faison YouTube videos. He said that on Rogan a couple years ago. And if you guys don't know who Shane Faison is, Shane has the channel on YouTube called Fight Tips for the Underdog. And so he was on record saying that's how he first learned to do martial arts. And we know if you're learning martial arts from a YouTube guy, you're not learning to grapple, you're not learning to wrestle. I like the adjustment Buckley made in the 4th round. He listened to his corner. His corner told him to stop giving Usman both shoulders and go from a bladed stance, and he did. And when he was going at that bladed stance, what that was doing, it was negating Usman's opportunity for a double leg, and it was forcing Usman to chase the single. And I think looking back, that should have been Buckley's game plan 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, DJ, go to Joe Rogan's interview with Buckley 2 years ago. He says that in the first hour. The reason why I'm referencing that is because I'm friends with Shane. I did a documentary in 2020 where the fighter I was documenting, we stopped through LA and we went to his garage. At the time, I think he moved back to Pittsburgh or Philly. He was living in Redondo Beach, and he was filming all of his content in his house out of a garage. That's how I met him. I put some of that footage is up on YouTube. But yeah, Buckley admitted to that, which is insane. And you guys have to remember, Buckley, this is a guy who got walked out to one of his fights by that Dust guy. I think who's the Detroit cop that a lot of the high-level mixed martial artist fighters don't like, because he does these videos acting like he could disarm somebody. That's not my wheelhouse. I don't know the fake martial arts, but he got walked out by that guy before. DJ, I brought this up though. DJ, I brought that up on the live stream. So when I picked Buckley, I went straight off of, but this is why it's burned me on 2 tickets. Nonito Donaire and Kamaru Usman proved to us that you can't always use ring rust, 2 years off of the fight game, and age as a bad thing because Usman was 38, hadn't fought in 2 years. Donaire was 42, hadn't fought in 2 years. And both guys came off and won. And I picked against both guys. So you can't always do that. And I'm sure when we see a matchup like that again, an old head versus a young dude, I'm gonna go with the young dude I'm gonna go with the old head, and the old head will lose. Guys, wherever you're tuning in, let's get these likes up. That's all I ask for. I appreciate everybody who's tipping me. That keeps the channel going. I work for myself. I run my own business out of my house, coaching, and I'm a writer, and this is my passion, so I appreciate the support. Everything helps. Giving Pac-Man more of a chance now. Mark Vasquez, great point. Guys, let's talk about that real quick. Let's take the next couple minutes. I'll talk about it, and I want you to put your opinion on it. We're about to see at 147 pounds a 46-year-old Manny Pacquiao fight for the world title against the champion Mario Barrios. Disregard the politics of it. I'm sure that a lot of us could sit there and agree on why we wouldn't agree with Manny being able to step in and fight for a world title, but throw that all aside and think about the matchup. Barrios' fight style, Pacquiao's fight style. I don't have the odds yet, and I don't know what they would be, but I'm assuming they would be quite wide. Does anybody here have a statement or a stance on Pacquiao beating Barrios? I want to know that right now. Does anyone here think that Pacquiao beats Barrios? Nathan's put in a G on it. Ryan plus 200. Sasaki's not faster or stronger. He's not. Barrios carries a couple rounds. Barrel strength. Barrel, I saw you on Gary's live stream, and before I could do my live, I saw you commented about Christian Aronetta, so I salute you. Because I was texting Gary last night and Muscles, and I was like, bro, I just did tape on Aronetta. I'm going over the resumes. He's a dog. I think this is a steal. But Barrel said the same thing on that live, so I salute Barrel. So, yeah, I don't see a path to victory. And you guys know this is boxing heads. There's one thing with a guy looking good on the pads, right? You're in camp, you're training, you're in shape. Manny Pacquiao will always look good on the pads, probably until he's 70 or 80. You know what I'm saying? We got to remember, martial arts movements, combat movements in terms of, that's all brain pathways. To clarify my point, you can find footage of Helio Gracie, Royce's dad, grappling in his late 80s, doing jiu-jitsu in his late 80s. Granted, he wasn't grappling against adults. He was still doing seminars, and his movement patterns and his fluidity for Brazilian jiu-jitsu was still there because his brain wiring was there. Pacquiao on the pad still has it. He still has this. The speed looks good. But I think it was Teddy Atlas who once said, every old fighter looks good on the pads until the fight starts. And, you know, once again, Nonito Donaire, though, he proved that wrong. We'll see what happens. Mobili is going to stop Sulecki. I'm high on Christian Mobili. I think Aronetta, there we go, Mac, knocks his opponent out 1-6. I'm going to be salty because I know I'm going to wait to put money on Aronetta. And I know the money, by the time I bet on this fight, it'll be probably tomorrow because the fights will be the next day. And I guarantee it'll be close to even money because I just think the bettors aren't aware of their resumes. You have a Thai guy, and we've broken down the Thai fighters a lot on this channel based off of, you know, being Muay Thai fighters, and why if you look at Muay Thai fighters traditionally, we'll use MMA as an example. I talked about this before. When Muay Thai fighters fight boxers in MMA, they don't do very well because when you're learning the art of 8 limbs, Muay Thai, their national sport in Thailand, you have to worry about checking kicks, you have to worry about elbows, you have to worry about kicking. So Thai fighters aren't taught to sit on their punches. They're not taught to dig their heels in. So these guys who are boxers come from a Muay Thai background. So their punches, they're not landing the same way. And I think I'm 5-0 in the last year of betting against Thai fighters. We just hit big 2 weeks ago in Tokyo. There was I forget what the matchup was. We could look at our receipts. But it was an even fight, and I said, go heavy on the Japanese guy. He's going to stop the Thai fighter, and that's exactly what happened. And I think this is what's going to happen with the Filipino fighter versus the Thai fighter. I think Christian Aronetta beats him based off of that. Just got here, Norman -15 by knockout. Daniel Vega, take it right now, Daniel Vega. Asking about the Brian Norman stoppage. Take it now because the closer we get to fight night, guys, those odds are going to go down, meaning we're going to lose money. We already lost money on Brian Norman Jr. by stoppage. If we would have taken that yesterday, my book here in Australia was 230. It's at 189 now for Norman to win by stoppage. So you know what that's money's coming in, and I think Fight Night is going to be. I have Norman, yes. And Mark, if you want to watch my breakdown and analysis, it's on the playlist. I just uploaded it. Fight predictions. Whenever you see on my channel, guys, the thumbnail stats don't lie. Those are my breakdowns and predictions that are edited. Just so you guys know, because I know there's a lot of new subscribers who think that it's only these live streams, because some people aren't used to the kind of rapid response system. This is a different sort of method of chat. Norman 1-6, Mark Vasquez not to go I like it, David. David Iser. David, did you see my shout out? David Iser, if you watch my breakdown analysis on the Norman Jr. Sasaki, I gave you a shout out. David brought up a good point. He talked about of the 27 fights Norman has, 2 of those fights, so, you know, a little bit under, 2 of the 27 have been stopped due to headbutts. And one of those fights happened, you got to realize, guys, Brian Norman Jr., his first 13 fights happened in Mexico. He was a 17-year-old. It wasn't until he turned 18 that he started fighting in the States. One of those fights ended in a head clash, and then we know the Boca Chica fight ended in a head clash. And I just feel, you know, the reason why that is sort of important, because as gamblers, you should know if a guy or a girl has a history of things getting stopped, maybe due to cuts. And think about it. Think about the Gio Santillan fight. I don't really have the scorecards off the top of my head, but I remember that was a really close fight. The reason why the headbutt clash is important, because Norman Jr. stopped Santillan in the 10th or 11th, stopped him, in which I think he needed the stoppage, right? So if there would have been a head clash earlier and Norman doesn't get the stoppage, that fight would have went to the cards and Santillan would have won by technical decision. So that's why that's an important narrative and sort of an ever-encompassing stat to look at when you're looking at guys' resumes, especially if you're looking to go heavy on a guy, which I think like I said, I'm torn on. I think I'm going heavy on Norman Jr., obviously, to win. I think that I'm leaning on the stoppage. Nathan Ibarra, what's up, buddy? I've got a lot of messages. I'll focus. Nathan Ibarra, what's up? Send me the message. Let's see what we're talking about. That fight wasn't close. Okay. Okay, did you go? I'm just referring to some of the comments. I just remember the knockout. I got to be honest with you. Goat's talking about the Santillan fight. So Norman was winning on the cards. But you guys get my point. Sometimes it doesn't go. Sometimes that is the case. High interest. I love the shout outs, guys. Love the support. Let's get these likes up. We're floating right now, 22 minutes in, between 40 and 60 people, and we're only at 15 likes. If Nathan Ibarra is still on this live stream, let's see. Okay, so 85, thanks, Kyle. 85, 86, 82, 89, 83. Okay, that 85, 86 is a sketchy scorecard. Thanks, Johnny. I won on Hitchens and Cruz by knockout. Nice assessment. Support from the Philippines. Cortez, I'm glad you listened to me. I know it can be tough sometimes to actually listen to a dude that you've never met in person. But the longer you stay on my channel, the more you'll realize that I put energy and effort and research into this. Who hits harder, heroic Norman Jr.? Based off of weight class. Guys, one of our subscribers on the channel works in a bar or cafe, I think in the Caribbean, and I asked this question on the live stream yesterday. Does anybody know how big Brian Norman Jr. is? How much weight does he cut? And because he's only 5'8", but in recent interviews, Norman Jr. and his pops said that he's going to clean out 147 and he's going to move to 54 when his body tells him so. With that in mind, he's only 24. He's not even in his physical prime. If he's already talking about moving up, you know he cuts a lot of weight. Our buddy who works in the Caribbean said he met Norman Jr. and said he's massive, said he's a unit. So it's amazing that he even makes 47. So when I'm asked who hits harder, now, don't get it twisted. Andy Hiroka could crack. You know, he stopped Jin Sasaki, but that was at 140 pounds. There's Nathan. I told you about Usman, too big, too strong. Yeah, he did. All right, Nathan Ibarra, you did. Come on. Nathan Ibarra wants me to give him his flowers. He called the Usman beating Buckley. I was wrong. He was right. Shout out to you. I don't know much about Dorticos, but he's fought Gassiev and Bradis. Every time Bradis gets brought up in this live stream, people go insane. So I'm not bringing up Bradis in this live stream. So it's Tuesday here, Monday here. Right now, our parlay, we're kind of piecing it together. If you want to play safe, Norman on the money line, and then parlay him with the fights coming up this weekend. If you want to be a cowboy, I like Norman by stoppage And the underdog, Christian Aronetta, a Filipino boxer who's the co-main on the Brian Norman Jr. Jin Sasaki card in Tokyo. Aronetta is the slight underdog at this moment. I think you jump on him right now. All right, we're going to leave this part of the live stream for random questions. So I just got asked by Rudy. I'm going to answer this question in entirety. It's a UFC question. Do I think Ilia Topuria beats Oliveira? Now, based off of, I've watched Charles Oliveira's entire career. I remember Charles Oliveira when he was coming up, he was branded a quitter. If you go back, this is before Charles was a champion. So Oliveira's kind of had like 3 careers. So there was a time Oliveira's fighting another contender. I forget who. It might have been Max. Don't quote me on that. It was at, I think, 145. And his back, and at the time it was his biggest step up, and he has his back against the octagon, and he tapped out to his submission, but he was on his feet. And then afterwards, they found out that he had like a spleen issue, and then this narrative started being spun that Oliveira wasn't tough, wasn't gritty. And then, since that, we've watched who Charles Oliveira has become. Du Bronx is one of the legends in the UFC. With Ilia Topuria, guys, every performance that he has, I've bet against him because I didn't want to believe that Ilia Topuria was who he thinks he is. But after watching how he dismantled some of the legends in the sport at 145, granted this fight is at 55, the reason why he vacated because he knows that Oliveira used to fight at 45 as well, and Topuria puts on a lot of weight. Topuria's boxing, world class. I always talk about Joshua Van and Adrian Yanez, but Topuria's boxing, his speed, his counters, his willingness to exchange, his technical prowess in the pocket. The difference with Topuria versus Van and Yanez, obviously the world champion, but Topuria could grapple, and Topuria is mean, and Topuria is slick. He's good with his scrambles. He's good with his submissions. I think that I'm leaning on Topuria to beat Oliveira, and that's based off of resume, where they are in their career. Oliveira has a lot of tread on his tires. They always talk about as a fighter, whenever you tap once or whenever you lose a fight and that O's gone, or you start winning one, losing one, winning one, losing one, it's easier to lose a fight here. And I just haven't seen that in Topuria. I don't think it's I think he beats Charles. Scotty Scheffler this weekend. Isn't he a golfer? Arman Sarukian is officially a backup fighter. I like Sarukian. Hopefully he gets another chance. I know that Sarukian's been on record not really showing too much commitment about the game. Sarukian's kind of gotten dogged in the media because we know what happened when he pulled out his last fight, but then during fight week, he was on his social media talking about he doesn't even really look at himself as a fighter while he's flossing like $300,000 cars. But yeah, that's my take on Topuria versus Oliveira. Hopefully I gave you something. You don't have to listen to me. 30 minutes in, masterclass. Did I miss something with, are we on the Pacquiao Barrios? Rudy, Scheffler, are you talking golf? Good morning, mate. What is your upset fight this week? Lloyd Hernandez, my upset fight this week. The co-main event in Tokyo, Japan. The co-main on the Norman Jr. card. Take the Filipino underdog, Christian Aronetta. I thought you were talking about golf. Yeah, I don't bet golf. My wheelhouse is combat sports, boxing. Obviously, this is a boxing channel, but I'm an OG in the MMA space. I was writing about MMA. I'm 43 years ago, so I still watch every fight. Also, NCAA, college football. What do you think about Callum Walsh? Golf is hard. Yeah, I don't bet. Callum Walsh, I want to see Callum Walsh. I want to see him step up. I think there's a time. Wilder versus Herndon. I don't even know if I'm going to bet on that. ×2. Yes, Lloyd. So for your reasoning, Lloyd, go to Aronetta's opponent's box rec and compare Aronetta's resume versus his Thai fighter's resume. It's insane. Yeah, I didn't grow up in an area as a kid where we golfed. There are not a lot of golf, even though there's some nice courses. Akron, Bridgestone. So I think Bridgestone course is on the PGA Tour. That was an hour for me. I grew up in Youngstown. My boys didn't golf. there was nobody I kicked it with growing up in Youngstown, Ohio. We were golfing. We did putt-putt. I'll mess around and go putt-putt, but I ain't golfing. Mario has a knockout chance against Manny. Slow. Advantage slower. Yeah, it's really tough. When we get close to that fight, Nathan, I'll do a breakdown. I don't like these old-timer fights coming back fighting a current champion. I mean, how much did you guys watch the exhibition Manny did in Japan? I think it was Japan. that exhibition, what's the first thing that, like, we talk about power is the last thing to, the last thing we keep as fighters. But the first thing to go, I used to always say the reaction and speed, but it's the footwork and balance. When, do you remember when, like, think about when you see, like, the awful exhibitions with Mike Tyson, or when Evander Holyfield got knocked out against Vitor Belfort? That was the worst one. The Evander Holyfield Vitor Belfort one, somebody should have went to prison for that. But you look at Evander's legs, or then another one, Chuck Liddell versus Tito, like 2 years ago. You look at Chuck's legs. It's that balance that is sort of connected with our brain, and the balance comes from our neurology. And so that is the thing that, and that's from brain trauma. One, thanks. I got Hitchens and Cruz by Nice Assessment, cornering you. Support of your very good channel. Responsible betting from the Philippines. Mr. Cortez, appreciate you. You know I love my Filipino people. I have a lot of good friends from the Philippines. Y'all remember Wilder versus Charlie Z? How do we forget? Yeah, Tito, you're gonna have to stay tuned to the channel. I'm gonna put up a poll because I'm still torn on if I'm even gonna feature that fight. I will feature some of the fights on the undercard, but it's tough for me to put time and energy towards Jake Paul, guys. It really is. He was whipping him in the third several times. Boxers take it to the jab, and he didn't. BNJ versus Sasaki will go the distance. Goldmember, if that goes the distance, what's your bank giving you? Let's see that real quick. All right, so Goldmember comes with a bit of a hot take. Shouldn't really be a hot take, considering it's a world title fight. I respect it. The hot bet right now is Norman Jr. by stoppage, but Goldmember says that he could see this fight going the distance. So my book right now, will the fight go the distance? Because let's do some reasoning with that. All right. Will the fight go the distance? Brian Norman Jr. Sasaki, $2.50. So $100 gets you your money back plus 150. So not quite 2-1. So right now, that's your money, Goldmember. High interest, like the videos showing every day. Appreciate you, high interest. Guys, everybody who tips me, man, that's amazing. This is why I do it. It means so much to me, supporting my channel like that. And the least I can do is keep, I do all my research. I put a lot of energy and effort into these breakdowns. I won't always get it right, but at least when I get them wrong, you'll know that I researched them. Okay, so Goldmember likes the fight to go to decision. So Goldmember, are you just going to say the fight will go to the cards and not pick a winner? Because if you think Brian Norman Jr. is going to win by decision, that's 3-1. Mike Ross. Goat knows me all too well. Goat's flip-flopping. I know what you're up to, Goat. I'm just here to hit the like button. Havelock in the house. I always see Havelock on other live streams. He knows what time it is. He knows what he's doing. I want Goldmember to come back because the hot pick right now is Norman Jr. by stoppage. That's only paying $1.89. He said the fight will go the distance. Okay, so if you want Norman Jr. to go the distance, that's $3.25. So are you going heavy on that as a prop, or are you going to parlay that? And I know why you're doing that, and there's reason to it. There's definitely logical reasoning to it, because you could see Brian Norman Jr. using his fight IQ and outboxing Sasaki, which he definitely has the skills to do. He has better feet. He has better movement. He uses the ring more. And so if he wants to do that, he can. And I talked about this in my breakdown video, is that's going to be the narrative. What game plan will Norman Jr. adhere to? Because we know what Sasaki's going to do. Come right to the middle, not set up his jab, throw bombs, try to break Norman Jr.'s body down, and try to knock him out. The thing about that style is Norman Jr. is also a front foot fighter instinctively. And Norman Jr. will have the speed advantage and the power advantage, and Sasaki doesn't move his head. So do I think that his father, Brian Norman Sr., will take the son 7,000 miles to Tokyo and go there to defend his belt to win a decision? I disagree with you. I think Brian Norman Jr.'s dad and his camp saw something in Sasaki, the same thing I see in Sasaki, and they put their hand up, and they're like, yep, BoxRec algorithm has this kid ranked up here. All these sanctioning bodies have this kid ranked up here. Let me go over to Japan to show you that I'll travel as well, and watch me stop this dude. That's what I think is going to happen. But we'll see what happens. Don't have to agree with me. Parlay so far, Norman TKO, Kona Walker, Peter McGrill. I like it. Daniel, I'll be uploading that card this week. I'll be uploading that card this week, the UK card, which has some really good matchups on it. I'm in about an hour and a half, you'll see on my channel, I'm uploading the Christian Aronetta breakdown. Like I said, if you're really hardcore gamblers, go to your sports book right now and check to see if you're getting the odds on the co-main of the Norman Jr. card. It's a Filipino fighter named Christian Aronetta. They have him as a 2-to-1 dog versus a Thai fighter named Simsree. Let me read you something real quick. All right, this guy is the favorite against Christian Aronetta. Now, granted, he's 38-1 with 34 knockouts. So we know how the BoxRec algorithm, we know how they feel about statistics like that, right? He's not ranked number 6 at light flyweight. 5'3", 64.5-inch reach. He's right now the favorite against Aronetta. Listen to this resume. This is his last fight. It was a 6-rounder. His opponent was 11-8. The opponent before that, 19-4. The opponent before that, 3-0, 10-3, 4-5, 11-1, 0-3, 4-7, 10-11, 0-1, debut, 0-7, 3-2, 0-2, debut, 1-2. The only time he's ever fought out of Thailand, he went to Japan and got stopped. Other than that, he's fought in 6-rounders, 8-rounders, won a decision in a 12-rounder, 8-rounder, 12-rounder, coming off a 6-rounder. So I don't know how much of that has to do with, and we know the weight class, there's a lot of guys to fight. I don't know, what's going on in his career. The knockout to win ratio is super high. He's only 24 years old. It's the definition of a padded record. Now, when you look at Aronetta, 25-2, 20 knockouts. The only time he's ever fought out of the Philippines, he lost. So keep that in mind. So he's 30, he's a little bit older. His opponent's records: 16-8, 17-1, 42-3, 11-7, 10-10, 19-7, 9-0, 15-6, 14-12, 20-1, 25-9. So it's going to come down to, watch your own tape. I'm leaning heavily on Aronetta. I'll come out with my exact pick. I'm releasing the video today, and then tomorrow I'll let you know. Because right now I'm thinking of, if those odds stay the same, I might just prop bet Aronetta as a money line him as the dog and just keep him off to the side, kind of like, an X Factor bet. And I might do the same with Norman Jr., and we'll see if those two hit, and we'll take those winnings and roll them over into the weekend. The odds right now, hand history, right now, and they're going to change. I predict that they're going to change because the bettors are going to see this. Not this video. They're going to see the matchup. So right now, last night, Christian Aronetta was a 220. Meaning that $100 on him would have got you your money plus 120. He's down to a 210. And Simsree's $1.83. I guarantee if you wait till fight night, it's going to be a 50-50. It's going to be a 50-50. What did I miss? Plus, Norman is still building height towards his fight with Booth. I just read an article that BNJ wants that Booth fight. He got his knockout last 2 fights. Brian Norman Jr. stopped his last 2 opponents, Gio Santillan and Derek Cuevas. And the version of against Cuevas was a level up, in my opinion. No, Jin's going to be there to get for a fight. In Hand History Vault, in my breakdown, I talked about this. Look, I love the Japanese fighters. This modern version of the Japanese fighters, when you have all of them, when you know about the culture, when you know about the pride, when you know about their history, the samurai, the mindset, when you know about who's leading the charge, Naoya Inoue, then you have Junto Nakatani, these guys aren't just fighting under their name. They're fighting to show the world, the boxing world, that they're good as well. I think, though, that mindset is going to be his undoing. The same thing, it's one of the reasons why I thought, he didn't get the stoppage, but it's why I bet heavy on Sugar Nunez to beat Rikishi. It's why I bet heavy on Andy Cruz to stop Mishiro. Sometimes your ego can be your uncoming, and I feel that that's exactly how Sasaki fights, and I think he is tailor-made for Brian Norman Jr. to knock him out. We'll see. Guys, you don't have to agree with me. My girlfriend's always like, you could be so convincing. And I'll be talking to my girlfriend about where to go have dinner or what I should cook for her. And she'll just say things like, you could be so convincing. I was like, well, when I'm passionate about something, I'm coming from a good place. I want to say that to you guys because don't be afraid to disagree with me. I'm not trying to sell you on it. I'm just speaking sort of passionately about what I've seen. I'm not always right. I'm coming to Sydney with Mama Chula. Dude, you come to Sydney, you hit me up, I'll show you around. I love when people come see me. Boots beats B&J. I'm not going to sit here, gold member, and ever predict against Jaron Ennis. That's my guy, dude. Jaron Ennis is like, dude, I'm high on Jaron Ennis. I'm not going to sit here and say he loses to Brian Norman Jr. I'm not even going to predict that fight. Havelock, you've hit with the live betting before. I tried to take your advice on the live betting just this past weekend with the Andy Cruz. And I saw the option on my sports bet account, and I saw the green phone. But like I told you guys, for us to bet live, we have to dial the number and talk to somebody. And believe it or not, guys, I don't do well talking to strangers, which sounds pretty odd. If you know me, I'm outgoing, I'm sociable, but I'm not the guy to go out in public and just talk to strangers. So if that live betting, which sounds weird because I'm talking to you guys and we only know each other through the screen, but that forces me to talk to somebody. I'm like, I ain't doing the live betting, so I haven't done it yet. So winner between Kakachi and Ford. I'm leaning, dude. I like Kakachi to beat Ford. I talked about it yesterday, guys. I talked about it yesterday. It's not even supposed to be controversial. I like Raymond Ford. I like how the adjustments he's made in his offensive game. I just think Kakachi. Right now, it's not my official prediction, but right now, that's going to be a really tough fight for Raymond Ford. I don't think people realize, like, Anthony Kakachi's the real deal. Everything, like, neither guy has really one-punch knockout power, but Kakachi has different type of power. I mean, just stop Lee Wood. Look what he did against. He has some good wins. I know. Not supposed to be controversial, but I mean, I was expecting Ray and maybe like Thomas Matisse when he fought the Gunnerman. Thomas Matisse is my guy, dude. Cleveland, Ohio. I'm a big fan of Thomas Matisse. Never was going to be a world champion, but he's a really, really good boxer. And Raymond Ford fought really, really well. And obviously, I picked Raymond Ford to win that fight. When I have to compare Ford's performance against Thomas Matisse and Anthony Kakachi's performance against Lee Wood, and then watching Kakachi, who he's beaten, just look at some of the names and Kakachi's had this Indian summer of a career, this late renaissance. He's 36, I think. But he still has it, dude. It's definitely Ford's toughest test, in my opinion. I think, like, I know Ford's lost a really controversial decision to Ball, but I'm not a huge Ball guy either. I'm not a big Nick Ball guy. I'm so jittery when I'm placing live bets. Yeah, dude. The live bet thing. You guys are cowboys. You live bettors, that's a whole different animal. Just sitting there to live bet. Got to use a VPN. So are there betting apps that allow you to bet live without talking to somebody? Maybe get back to me on that. Because if it was just a button, like transfer money, boom, live bet, boom, let's do it, I would do it. B&J couldn't knock out a fighter that I'm into. Okay, now we're doing boxing match, gold member. But Brian Norman Jr., to push back on that, is only 24 years old. So that version of Brian Norman Jr., who couldn't knock the guy out who, that you mentioned against Stanionis, that guy is coming off 2 straight stoppages. He just stopped Santian, and he was the first guy to stop Derek Cuevas. If we want to do boxing mats, when I see a 24-year-old world champion, he's not going to hit his physical prime in a few years. So you got to just keep expecting, until you don't see it, you got to keep expecting Norman Jr. to keep leveling up a little bit by a little bit. And that's what I'm seeing. And he's a dog. Like, he fights. There's a lot to like about Norman Jr. I live in Washington State, and you have to physically go to the casino. That's insane. And Washington State's super liberal, isn't it? Boots' first fight at 54, Conor Ben Thurman. I was hearing that he might fight at 54. I just read an article today. But if Boots fought Joshua Kelly, I would love that fight. Josh Kelly's one of my favorite guys. I don't know who'd win. I'd have to side with Boots to beat PBK for sure. And the other two you asked, Conor Ben, Boots, come on, dude. My Boots dog walks Conor Ben. Conor, there's when you're looking at what Boots does really well, and when you're looking at, sometimes you can't compare fighters win or loss versus performances. You have to kind of look a little bit closer and see how they box. Everything Conor Ben throws is at one speed. Everything he throws is one speed. You could take a boxing class down. If you were to come here and you never boxed before, right? One of the day one drills I would teach you to punch is a drill that you would throw punches at a different speed. For instance, you would drill a 1-2-3, a jab, cross, hook combo, and I would tell you slow, slow, sit down. Slow, slow, sit. Slow, slow, sit. So it teaches you over time to throw punches at different speeds. You know, usually the last one, Conor Ben's straightforward everything. Jaron Ennis is a really, 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 really world-class smart fighter. He would pick up on that. He would get Conor Ben's distance and range and timing down real quick, and he would stop him. I'm pretty sure, like, dude, Jaron Ennis is that dude. Kelly and Boots are similar, but Boots is tougher. Yeah, Boots, I love Josh Kelly, like I said, and it'd be hard for me to bet against him, but I think Boots is more, you know, he kind of has that thing that you can't really find on paper. He does a lot of things really well. His arsenals, think about his arsenal as well. His toolbox, what he could do in there. Just got a heavy bag. I would always say, always wrap your hands. Tiger, don't trust his chin. What did the article say? Jaron Ennis, here, I'll pull it up real quick. About potential matchups at 54. Give me a second. There we go. Now, granted, we can only take this with a grain of salt because you know who was saying it. Your boy Eddie Hearn was saying it. He said it today. He was saying he wants, like Murtazaev, the winner of Fundora versus Zhu. And he said he still wants that Bud Crawford fight. Eddie Hearn is trying to position Jaron Boots Ennis to fight Murtazaev. That's what this article's saying. Or Virgil Ortiz. Yeah, but, I mean, even if he is lying, guys, Boots, let's do it. Even if he's lying. Boots versus Murtazaev, Boots versus Virgil. Those are fun fights. Who do you guys see winning those ones? Those are fun to think about. Fabio versus Parker is man, dude, Joseph Parker, man, I love what he's doing in his career right now. Hopefully he gets a world title. Eddie says, Eddie's, you can't believe Eddie. Fundora, Tim, I think Fundora beats Tim. It's sad for me to say. Virgil, I can see Fundora, Tim. Yeah, I think, there's a lot that we lose psychologically. Before Tim got clipped in the middle of the first round against Bakram, watch the first, I think, 60 seconds of Bakram versus Tim. You know, they're going to the middle. Bakram throws like something that's not even that heavy, and Tim goes like this. And it was like this PTSD response to where he got cut against Fundora. He went like that. He pawed on his thing. It was in the first couple exchanges against Murtazaev. The reason why I reference that is that's a mental thing. I think Fundora pours it on him. I think Fundora has, dude, he's not, and I'm from Australia. I just don't think at 30 years old, Tim Tszyu has it in him to change how he fights. With Sebastian Fundora, you obviously have to deal with the height. You have to deal with the reach. But, Seb fights down, and I think he's going to make adjustments. He's so willing to fight you in the pocket. I think with some Fundora, what I think and he should do is just, focus on his range a bit. He smothers everything, but he's young. Gets on that. He's fun to watch. It's weird when I see people hating on Fundora. It's a fun style to watch. I always talk about it. Like his sister as well. His sister's my favorite female fighter to watch. There's no other girl that fights like that. And she's mean. Just out here knocking girls out. So I think Fundora is going to add level. I expect him to add levels to his game. And I think he stops Tszyu. I really do. I got Tim against Fedor, but he has to be aggressive like last time. It's going to be a great fight. It's going to be a great fight. It's not my exact prediction. Give me some time, guys. Yeah, dude, Sweet Poison, dude, she's a gangster. We'll see, you know, I'm excited to see when they start filling out the Crawford versus Canelo card. There's so many rumors right now. Kurbanov and Majumov. Nice. Great point, Hans. Great point. Kurbanov and Majumov. I'd love to see. Dude, Israel Majumov they just put that kid in there against everybody. You know what I mean? Like, he's seen so many styles too, in terms of going back and forth from, you know, fighting Crawford to Virgil. I could see Boots fighting Majumov. We'll see what happens. It's a good call. I like Boots going to 54, guys. He cuts so much weight. He's a big dude. No, Fedora, I mean, there's a lot to like about Seb. And people will say, oh, he's a weight bully. It's like, do you know anything about combat sports? How could you call a guy with a 6'5", 6'6" frame just in anything a weight bully? They act like this guy walks around at 210 pounds. You know what I mean? I've heard that a lot in boxing forums, that Fedora should move up to 60. Okay, no. Stay at 54. Yeah, Kurbanov is the guy. Didn't he lost his belt to was it Majumov? Didn't Majumov stop Kurbanov, if I'm not mistaken? I know he beat him. I think he stopped him, didn't he? And then that's what propelled Majumov to the Bud fight, if I have that right. I know you guys will check me on that. I'd rather see Boots versus Majumov than Kurbanov, to be honest with you. Yeah, that's the one I think I'd rather. Yeah, he didn't look right, Canelo, Floyd's son, and I'm not making excuses because I'm a fan of both guys. But it's safe to say, I mean, nobody would argue that the version of we could do it both ways. The version of Majumov who fought Bud wasn't the same version who fought Virgil, just like the version of Murtazaev who fought Zoo wasn't the same Murtazaev what he looked like the previous fight. And we know that it was documented. Murtazaev's been on record to say he's not fighting anymore during Ramadan. So that matters as well. Same thing with Boacek. The version of Boacek versus Virgil was definitely not the version of Boacek versus Michael Fox. So there's a lot of, you know, sort of factors and variables that make it our job harder when we're looking at comparing and contrasting matchups and predictions. We could do our best to research and study and keep our ears open for sort of like information, but we also have to we also have to depend on each fighter to show up. Sometimes guys don't show up, and sometimes the bright lights thing is a real thing. The psychological component of being able to step in when the lights are bright and perform is a real thing. And sometimes when you hear me defending a guy or talking a guy up, it was part of the reasoning I was, I'd said Hitchens would get the stoppage, envisioned him doing the stoppage because I felt like he was going to step up and have his moment. Sure enough, he did. The same reason when Keyshawn stopped Lemos in Virginia. That's impressive because he stepped up. Not every fighter historically has been able to do that. Even in their home, we've seen homecomings get spoiled. It happens all the time. Some guys are in their home. They start getting nervous. It's another reason why I was so high. When you look at Bud Crawford's career, all those fights where, he was a regional guy and selling out that arena in Omaha every time he'd show up. That's part of being a world champion, is showing up. It matters, and you can't measure that. You can't Munguia versus Bruno. We have a long list, guys. Great point. Fedor was impressive in his last fight. Romo Tellis. Exactly. Tellis is a tough dude. Tellis is a tough out, guys. Matias versus Pero, he pissed me off. Yeah, guys, I went against the Aussie. I thought Subriel, this was the boogeyman Subriel. This was, the guy, I think at the time 20-1, 20 knockouts. And the guy he lost to, he fought and stopped him. I did not see Liam Pero going to Puerto Rico and beating Subriel. I didn't see that. So why not have the fight show up and show out? Got Tito Express, show up and show out. But guys, it's not always the easiest thing to do. That's why when you see a fighter historically being able to do that, and whether it's you see the fighter historically doing that in their hometown or doing that on pay-per-view or traveling and doing that, that becomes part of a narrative. We have to remember, what was Evander Holyfield's nickname before, it was the real deal Holyfield, But if you ask him, and I only know this because I interviewed him for my first book. He's a chapter in my first book called Ungoogleable. And in the interview, he said that he calls himself the road warrior. So people call himself the real deal Holyfield because he said during the amateurs and the Olympics, he lost a close decision and he would lose these close decisions. And people would say, man, Evander, you got a raw deal. And somebody heard that, you know, you got a raw deal. And then they thought they were saying he's the real deal. But in his head, he called himself the road warrior because his narrative at the time was he will go into somebody's backyard, he will go into somebody's hometown and beat them. It's kind of like the conquering mindset, Genghis Khan invading. And so some guys fight like that. And some guys, you know, when they're faced with those moments, they don't fight well. They don't fight well. So it's something we have to think about. Brian Norman Jr. It's one of the reasons why I'm high. Norman Jr., I mean, not a lot of guys would take their belt to Japan. Venado Lopez, road warrior. Do you this not clean out 47? No. I'm not a proponent of a 27-year-old hurting their legacy because they move up. And I'm not even a proponent of a guy hurting their legacy not, you know, for factors that don't happen in the ring that don't include crime. Obviously, you know, historically we've seen fighters destroy their careers and ruin their legacies outside of the ring. The list is insane, obviously. But to say that somebody's legacy gets hurt for factors that don't happen in the ring and don't have to do with crime because they move up, I don't buy into that. I don't think that's even a real thing. I think that's a narrative that sort of media outlets will spin and try to get something going. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. A nerd like myself about the sport, I don't buy into it. Fedora throws these ineffective arm punches. That's why he fights unless this guy total glass. There's a chance he'll come the distance. I love these comments. Oh no, can it be the Japanese guy's moment for it? Can be, Clifton Dennis. It can be, but I don't see that. I don't think that's the style. Yeah, Boots is a tough out, guys. Like, a good question to ask though. I wouldn't rush Boots at 54. Even if, let's say Eddie Hearn is right and he goes to 54, I wouldn't put Boots right into a world title. I wouldn't. I just think that that's a dangerous proposition. I would give him a fight. I wouldn't really give him a fight off, but I'd give him a challenge. I'd find a guy that, you know, has a good resume. I'd find a big puncher, a nice problem, somebody who's bigger than him. I'd put him in there with somebody who's bigger than him to see, naturally bigger, which that will happen, to see how he handles that. Yeah, we were wrong. let the losses in the past. Leave those losses in the past. Someone unify Thurman. Guys, what happened to Keith? What happened to Boo Boo Andrade? Demetrius! Once a week I do a live stream. Demetrius! Where are you? Jesus. I want to see Andrade fight. Anybody know where he's at? Where's Boo Boo at? And I think I might have been wrong. Are you going to give your pick on the Brandon Lee fight? It's me again. What's up, Dwayne? Brandon Lee. I've been asking about him. Guys, David, or whoever said about Brandon Lee, to answer your question, we're staying focused on my predictions because we got Tokyo in 2 days. But I will be uploading the predictions and Brandon Lee soon. Carvin Davis. Okay, there you go. I knew you guys would know. Punch Drunk said that Andrade's coming back in August. Mexican, Korean. Then Tellez goes the distance with Julian Williams. Salute Zorro. I knew somebody would know. Yeah. So, all right. So Andrade's sparring. And I might have said something reckless last week when I thought that somebody was asking me about EJ, if he would fight again. And last week I said no. I thought that EJ wouldn't fight again. And then you see him post on his Instagram that he was training. And that kind of took me back. Errol Spence on his Instagram posted this 7-picture slide. Go to Ohio. I think Ohio Runs Boxing has it. In the 7-picture slide, and I don't know if EJ did this on purpose, but the first 6 slides are like his son, his wife, or his girlfriend riding horses. And if you go to the 7th slide, which I didn't see until yesterday, EJ has his shirt off and he's in a gym and he's ripped. And I'm like, is Spence training on the hush on the down low? Because I was under the impression he was done. Because that would then, I mean, there's a certain romance around fight fans when we hear guys like, you know, Errol Spence Jr. training or fighting again. It's why people want to see, it's why some people are excited about Manny Pacquiao. That sort of romance lingers around fighters, which is, yeah, I don't know if he's going to, but I haven't seen him post a training footage or content in forever. I don't know the last time I saw him even hitting anything, hitting the pads or even shadow boxing. And it's been a while, going on 2 years. Conwell boots. That would be a good comeback fight. I mean, Conwell would be in a, I don't want to really say a must-win for a kid who's 26 or 27, but I think that's a tough fight for, I'd like to see that fight. It's a good matchup. It's something to think about. I think I would still lean on Boots to beat Conwell. Lorenzo Simpson, I have that up here. I'm glad somebody brought this up. Guys, Lorenzo Simpson, 15-2, fighting Jahai Tucker, 14-1. Both guys have fought good guys. I'm uploading that. I'm uploading that video. I'm going to do my breakdown. Lorenzo Simpson, I think, is a live underdog, and the odds makers are showing him no respect at the moment. So I'm very interested in that fight. He only has 2 losses. Lost a split decision to Santana. Lost a majority to Vladimir Hernandez. He's taking on Jahai Tucker. Both guys are young too, guys. I mean, Lorenzo Simpson is only 25 years old. And Jahai Tucker is even younger. Didn't Jahai Tucker go pro at like, how old was he? 17? Tucker's 22. In his loss, they put him against Nick Flaz when he was 20. So Jahai Tucker this is a fun fight. You know, he got a UD over Troy Williamson. We saw Troy Williamson get stopped against Joshua Kelly. I don't like doing boxing mats, but that's something to think about. I'm going to do a breakdown on that fight. If anything, I'm probably going to lean towards a prop bet. I'm not saying I'm going to go underdog specifically because the odds are crazy. Guys, it's 7:30 here my Tuesday morning. I got to get to work in terms of getting my Christian Aronetta prediction and analysis uploaded. I think that's an opportunity for us to make money on an underdog. That is the co-main on the Brian Norman Jr. card. If you haven't watched my edited analysis prediction of Norman Jr. versus Sasaki, that's on my channel right now. Stay tuned. I'm going to do my best to do a second live in about 5 hours. I'll put that link up. Also, if you haven't already, hit the bell notification. It'll notify you. And guys, if you're still here at the end of the stream, I say thank you. And to answer your question, the guy who beat Conwell is Chino Garcia. He's fighting Xander Zayas. Going to be a great fight. That's happening soon.